that's actually kind of cool. So I'm like, hey, dude, watch this, come here. My fingers won't go apart. Right, and all the girls are like, oh my God. And all the boys are like, cool, try this. So then they're like, can you move them like this? I'm like, no. Right, so we're like running our little science experiment room with my fingers as the guinea pig. And, you know, it's all pretty sweet. It hurt for a second, and then it was just kind of a weird numbish feeling, which I thought, cool, doesn't hurt. Turns out, that is a warning sign, body not like that. Okay, so, as I look down, I noticed they're gotten fat. And they're swollen to the part where they're like sausages. Like kind of bratwurst size. Nice. Right? And I'm like, look at my fingers are big! They're huge! I walk around showing people, and they're turning bright red, and I think that's kind of cool too. Red fingers, they're big. And I'm still trying to move them, and that's not working. So I'm like, hey, I wonder if I can pull this out. Hey, give me a pencil! So I'm trying to wedge it out, and that's not working. That kind of hurt, actually, so I didn't like that very much. But so, you know, everything's cool, and we're running our experiments still, and then my fingers start to turn this gray color, like cadaver gray. And they start to go cold. Like they felt cold, and I touch them and they're cold. And I think that's kind of cool for a minute, but then I think that's kind of scary, because cadaver is like dead. And I don't like that. And, you know, probably like blood poisoning was starting to set in. I don't know. So I walk up to the teacher, and I say, I need to go to the nurse.
Why?
Why?
Again, why? And I'm like, what is wrong with you people? But I do this, because I staple my fingers together. Okay, now, this girl, again, Vegas, she should never go. Because she happened to be at the teacher's desk asking a question when I did this.
So she threw up again?
No.
Oh.
So much worse. So she's standing here, and I go, because I staple my fingers together, right, and I do like this, but she's shorter than me. So she's like this big,
It's like
so
right
it's like in her face. I got these cadavery, nasty sausage fingers with a staple that now has, the skin has swollen over it, kind of. So it like has a big dent where the staple is. And my teacher just does this, oh, you have got to go to the nurse. And this girl looks at my fingers, her eyes get big for a second, and she faints. Only when she faints, she hits her head on the desk behind her, and then hits her head on our concrete floor. And it turns out she has a concussion, she's out of school for a week. Whatever. Okay, so I go to the nurse, right, and school nurses then were perhaps not as qualified as they are today. I'm not sure. My experiences with them were never what I would consider highly medical. But I go in and I say, hi, I have hurt my fingers. I need you to take the staple out. Oh my God, what are we going to do? What should we do with that? I'm like, take it out. I need to call your mother. So she calls my mom and says, Julie has a staple in her fingers. And my mom says, are you going to take it out? And she says, well, we thought we should call and ask. Well, ask her, it's her fingers. And I'm like, okay, try and take it out. So, she gets out the nurse tweezer, right? That's like their do-all tool. You know, it's kind of like a needle nose pliers to them. This will do anything. So she gets out the tweezer, and she starts pulling it out, nothing. Like, it doesn't give at all. And it's just like the thing where you pull, and then the tweezer snaps off of it, and you can hear the little kick. And that's freaking her out. It's not really freaking me out because I'm standing there watching it, seeing what's happening, but it's freaking her out. And like literally she's yanking on it like, oh no, that's not going. So then she goes and literally gets a pliers. Nothing. Still won't come out. Okay, so, and partly it's because the skin is so swollen and it's so wedged into the bone now.
Why didn't she ice it?
No, why would we do that? We would have to, A, have a refrigerator in the nurse's office. They don't have a refrigerator that they don't have.
It's way too much
Have you not been to
logic.
nurse's office? They just have a cot and like a shelf. Yeah, it has a curtain around it in case while you're resting, you need privacy. So, eventually though, this is what she does. She digs in her desk, takes out her literal like nurse's bulletin board staple remover, does not put any alcohol on it whatsoever, doesn't even rinse her off, and goes, let's try this! Jams it into my fingers, snaps that baby shut, and it pulls the staple out. And she's like, yeah, got it!
And you're going, ow?
No, I'm can't believe you just, you know, I'm like, before that saying was cool, I'm like, that just happened. You just did that. Okay, so she's like, I bet we're gonna need a Band-Aid, and I think we should splint it. And I was like, there's a staple in it. I didn't break it in 7 pieces. But so I go back to class with this giant ace bandage up to here on my arm. And yeah, and then the splint, nurse's office splint is what, you know? Tongue depressor, because why would we have a real one? So she takes a tongue depressor and she breaks it. So that it'll, you know, because I'm a little kid, I have little fingers. So she breaks it, so, and then she puts it on my hand. So now like the edge of it is digging into my palm. She tapes it on and then she gives me the ace bandage around it. She's like, try not to get it dirty. And she sends me back to class. And I go back to class and everybody thinks it's cool because now I have this giant bandage. And meanwhile, the little girl has been carted, I don't know where, but north. Okay, so
I love this.
now,
Do you think she gets
the story would end there. It really does end there for me, except I get blamed for something that is totally not my fault. Our senior year in high school, our last day of school is, in my high school, was basically trash the hall day, and then the freshmen have to clean it up.
Oh, nice. Love it.
So we got to just chuck everything out of our lockers, and then the freshmen that were walking by, the custodians would be like, "You pick that up!" And they'd have to like start cleaning. It really sucked for them. So if you had older siblings in the school, you knew that on the last day of school, last day of senior school, because we were like out a week earlier than them, then if you're a freshman, bail quickly. Don't go back to your locker. Don't ever go back to your locker. Just go. Okay, so whatever. We're tossing all the stuff out of our locker, and all is good until somebody has their cat in advanced biology. We dissect cats. A story about that at a later date, because it led to some pretty good stories, like of girls that would yell out, "Hey! Can anybody help me find my vagina?" As they're like dissecting their cat, and all the guys in our class are like, "I'll help." Ridiculously bad. It was like the homecoming queen that yelled that out too. So you know, and we're all like, right? We hear it, and we're all like, "Oh, that's not gonna happen at all." Okay, so, but anyway, so our cats eventually would have like slit open organs all over the place in there, right, that had been cut and sutured and whatever. So somebody pistol whipped theirs down the hallway, right? Like that. Organs go flying out. Yeah, this girl gets hit with a kidney. And it falls off, right? But this is, you know, serious formaldehyde, so I'm sure it left like a wet imprint kidney. And it's nasty. So she's freaking out. She looks over, right, and I happen to be standing somewhat here, where, you know, the CSI angle of the shot must have come.
No way.
And last thing I remember from high school is her just looking at me like, it's like, it wasn't me, I didn't do it. It's totally not me. Okay, but